guys, it's Rhiannon from Not the Cool Mom. I'm really glad you joined me today. I wanted to do a short video on getting your seeds set up and started while we wait for spring. This is going to be just a basic overview of equipment and some of the things that you'll need for starting seeds indoors. It is not going to be an in-depth video on how to do it or anything like that. I'm probably going to try to do that in a later video or even in a collaboration with an Instagram friend of mine. I haven't really decided yet, but I did want to do a short video kind of going over just some very basic things that you can use to start your seeds while it is still cold and the ground is not ready for planting yet. So the very first thing you're going to need, of course, are containers to house your seeds in. Now, there are a variety of ways you can do this. One of the things that I often do is just save these 6-pack, 9-pack, 12-pack, they come in a variety of sizes of containers from seedlings that I've purchased in the past. Facebook is another great option. Put a post out there if anyone's looking to get rid of these. Most people just throw them away. They don't last very long, which would be the downside. Most of mine I've had for 2, sometimes I can get a 3rd year out of it. However, because the plastic is really flimsy, they tear really easy and they just don't last very long. However, if you're starting, this is a great place to start. And this year, if you buy any seedlings, make sure to save them for next year. Another great option that for us is something we use a little bit more is we reuse containers. We got about 65,000 of these yogurts in our weekly food co-op. And so my kids have been eating yogurt. My chickens have been eating yogurt as it expires because we just can't keep up that much. And we have been saving these. These are an excellent spot for either starting seeds for plants that are going to get a little bit larger, or even in the case of something small like these. This is feverfew. I will divide these up as they get a little bit bigger, and I will start moving them into these larger containers. So things tend to always kind of rotate in our seed starting world, I guess. The one thing you do want to make sure is that you punch a hole in the bottom of any container that's solid. One, this is needed for drainage, of course, but also when your seedlings are really tiny, very few times do you ever want to just dump water on them from the top. You most often want to bottom water, which means you are filling the container that your seedlings are in with water and letting the water absorb from the bottom. If you want to water the top of them, especially when they're seeds and you need to keep that top layer of soil wet, but you don't want the bottom to be so wet that it's soggy, I suggest grabbing a spray bottle. You can use one from the dollar store. These were some I ordered on Amazon for my cleaning stuff. And I just miss the tops until the seedlings get established enough to actually get and have a root system to use water from bottom. Another thing you're going to need is something to house all your little pots and containers on. I purchased these from the dollar store. Well, it used to be the dollar store. Now it's the $1.25 store. But these are just like lasagna pans. These were some cookie sheets. I even use the lids. These again are really flimsy, but as long as I'm not moving things around too much, they work for holding water at the bottom and not leaking all over my carpet. So you need some things that can hold your seedling trays. But again, nothing has to cost a ton. Recycling is great. Reusing is great. I'm a huge fan of it. One, for the earth benefits, but also because my goal is not to spend a whole lot of money on this kind of stuff. So I don't. Another thing I highly recommend whenever you are starting seeds, especially the really tiny ones, your herb seeds, flower seeds, your tomatoes, your pepper seeds, things like that, is you would like to start them in a seed starting mix. Now, this is where you're gonna go to the store and you're gonna bulk a little bit, because a giant bag of potting soil, 2 cubic feet, is generally gonna run you anywhere from like $7 to $10, depending on the size, depending on the type of the year, depending on the brand. Whereas a seed starting bag of dirt, which is about half of that size, is gonna run you about the same cost. However, this actually really truly does matter when you are starting seeds, and I'll tell you why. Seeds for something, let's see here. Let's use these Yarrow seeds, for example, okay? These seedlings have been growing for probably 3 weeks, maybe almost a month even. Next week will be a month. And you can see how tiny they are. So when we planted these seeds were the size of like tiny specks of pepper or like poppy seeds. I had to plant them in my shop, even though we were doing all the dirt outside, because like one of the wind and they would have been gone. When you have seeds that tiny, you are going to have to put them in the seed starting mix for this reason. Seed starting mix is a lot finer, it's lighter, and it's fluffier. And so when you have these tiny little seedlings that are trying to push their way out of this tiny little seed, the dirt for potting soil or even a really good compost is going to be harder for them to push against, to get out of the seed casing, to get roots down into that dirt, and then to start to grow with that really thin little stem up towards the light. When you are starting seeds, your goal in life is not to make life harder for them than it already is, because they're already doing something completely amazing. So seed starting mix, you don't need a ton of it because you're not filling huge containers or pots or 5-gallon buckets or, a raised bed or anything like that. Seeds that you would be starting indoors are going to be your smaller, more tender, more fragile type things. So it is absolutely worth the money to get a few bags of seed starting mix to start your seeds indoors. Now, the nutrition in seed starting mix goes pretty quickly because little baby plants, as they're germinating, use a lot of it up. So for example, how I was talking about repotting some of those herbs and dividing them and putting them in bigger containers, once they're mature enough for me to upgrade their container to a larger size, I will use a potting mix that I just make sure I really finely work through, because it's going to give it a little bit more of a sturdy base. It's going to start training those roots as they develop to get a little stronger, get a little thicker, take a better hold of things. But when you're starting your seeds, you want to be kind and gentle to those little baby roots so that they can grow and mature. So get a seed starting mix. It's worth it, I promise. Light is another really crucial thing. Most people think that if they have a south-facing window that they'll get enough light. And oftentimes you might get enough light to start your seeds and they might grow, but you don't typically have enough light coming in to give them a good, strong start. And you'll get something that's called leggy seedlings, where because they're trying so hard to reach the light, their stems get super long and thin before their top leaves are really ready to mature. And a lot of times these seedlings will, they'll bend over, they'll kind of end up looking like a vine instead of a instead of a strong seedling. What you're looking for with your seedlings is you want like a nice thick stem. Okay, that is the sign of a healthy seedling. You can see this one's already starting to develop some top leaves. These are my Roma tomatoes that I'm so excited about. So how do you provide enough light? That's really easy. You can order grow lights. You can purchase them. They tend to be really expensive. And when the bulbs die, they're dead. The bulbs are also really expensive to replace. I found these lights. These are 4-inch LED shop lights at Lowe's. They were $30 a piece. They daisy chain together, so you can plug, you can't really see that, I'm sorry, but there's a plug on each end. You can plug one into another, and they will provide non-heated light. Most grow lights run around 7,000 Kelvin, and that is the scale for the amount of colored light that is coming from a light. You can also use fluorescent shop lights. Those tend to run closer to 26 to 2,900 Kelvin. These lights actually are measured in lumens, which is a little bit different than Kelvin. It's a different scale. However, these were at 7,000 lumens. So these lights are super bright. At night, they're really obnoxious. So that's why we have them here in the playroom, so that we can close the door and everyone can sleep. However, they don't produce a lot of heat, which is great. They also come with a kit that gives you like different ways to attach it to different things. And so it also makes them adjustable with height, because of course, as your seedlings grow bigger, you're going to want to be able to adjust the height and pull that light farther away. Otherwise, you're going to end up with burned seedlings. Your lights do not have to produce heat in order to burn your seedlings. I have one seedling underneath that he just must be more tender for some reason, and his leaves are not happy. All of the other plants around him are totally fine, but he is mad. So I'm most likely going to lose him. That's kind of what you deal with seeds. Not everyone's going to make it to the finish line, but considering you get often 24 seeds for $3, your odds are still in your favor money-wise. Lights, however, are incredibly important. Even if you have like a beautiful, huge window, you are probably not going to get enough light. So you want to make sure that you have the option, especially in the early days, to give your seeds as much light as possible. Right now, we leave these lights on in here 24 hours a day. As the seedlings get older and mature, we will start to taper that off down until we are working closer to 12 to 14 hours a day before we take them outside to harden them off, because we want to train them to get used to what a regular day cycle would be versus just 24 hours of light. Was helpful in showing you that it's not difficult to start seeds and you don't have to have any fancy equipment. There are lots of cheap, even free options. Anyone can do it. And even if you challenge yourself this year just to start small, start with one thing. Pre-starting seeds indoors gives you a great jump on your growing season. Whether it is short or long, it definitely speeds the process up. And it gives you a little bit of life in the dead of winter when everything outside is just brown and disgusting. It sort of is a great thing to just track and see that new life coming and to know that you started that. Plus, it's a great money-saving option. I hope this video was helpful. Please like and save it for me. Share the link if you know anyone that is interested in starting seeds. You can also follow me over on Instagram at NotTheCoolMom. And I have some little tips and daily things that I share over there. Have a good day.